Yeah, I make break beats and I break mirrors.
Well, I gotta ask you because I don't actually know the story. Why do people call you Sidecar?
Oh, it's kind of funny for a lot of the reasons why you wouldn't ever guess, but I have epilepsy, and so for a long time I couldn't drive, and so I came up with this idea in my old band. We were like a circus sideshow rock band, kind of weird thing, and I was like, oh, we need to do a motorcycle tour of California, and just like we're all on motorcycles, it'll be great, and I explained the entire thing and how awesome it would be, and all this stuff. And then my buddy, like at the perfect moment, is like, cool, that's amazing, but you can't go because you can't drive. And my other buddy's like, no, he rides in the sidecar. He doesn't have to drive. It's Sidecar Tommy. And then that's how it sort of happened, you know?
How's it going?
Good, I'm Sam.
Hi, Sam. I'm Zoe.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
My question for you really was, when I see, I don't want to speak for other people, when I see a ballerina dance, I always think, like, okay, there must be an enormous amount of pleasure derived from feeling that graceful. Mm-hmm. Or when I see a really good hip-hop dancer dance, I think...
Being in the flow.
Like, or just the control of the body for some of the tutting and popping and stuff, like, just incredible body control. Mm. Belly dancing is one of those things that I didn't grow up in the cultural tradition of, and every time I see it, the same thought happens, which is, I really, really like this. I have no idea why. I don't have, like, a place to put this in a cultural context. I don't have a thread of connection to this. But I think it's amazing, and I love watching it.
Cool.
And I'm curious, kind of, like, as someone who understands that form of dance, like, what is the sort of the wave of it, or the feeling of it?
Sure.
If you could pick out one
Yeah,
thing.
well, firstly, it's a really interesting question. Second, my background as a dancer is I started when I was 4. I was doing ballet and tap and jazz, so that was my first experience with dance. And belly dance, the belly dance that I learned actually has a lot of influence from Western culture, from pop lock and breakdance, and at this point even whacking. So, and
I don't know what that is.
Whacking is like it's basically a different form of tutting. Okay. It's like it's like a drag queen form of tutting. Really, it might be
lots more arm movements, less wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, it's really, I would say, like, for me, again, like, the thing about dance in general, like any form, I studied classical Indian dance for like 8 or 9 years. But the thing about belly dance specifically, that the movement is just like the energy, like super fluid, super strong moves. Mm-hmm. Being in the flow, being in the moment, connecting to the audience. A big part of it for me is being a performer and playing off the energy of the audience and experiencing that. Like, I'm a dancer, but I'm also an entertainer. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of get off on the movement itself, but I also get off on the way the audience is experiencing the movement, and that changes the way I feel about it.
Well, belly dance is sexy, right? That has to feel just sort of fun to embody this, like,
yeah, but
really sensual
everything's sexy.
Thing.
I mean,
no, not everything is sexy. Not all forms of dance are sexy.
Okay, well, I didn't start belly dancing because I think it's sexy. So
sure, but
that I don't really want to answer it from that angle, honestly. Like, I don't.
Gotcha.
I'm not like, belly dance is sexy. Like, it's slightly offensive to me, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, I'm not out there. I didn't start belly dancing, so people would think I was sexy. I have been studying this form for almost 20 years because I think it's an incredibly intense, like, difficult dance form, and I'm not out there trying to be sexy or feeling sexy. I'm out there feeling empowered, feeling powerful. And I mean, yeah, like the costume, but if you look at like traditional Odissi, like they're like bam, bam, you know, and they're like wearing like shorts and like short tops and their bellies are exposed, right. And people aren't like, oh, well, Odissi is sexy. Like, it's... Well,
this is why I asked the question, is because, like, I don't have this context, and so I'm curious.
I don't think of it like, I don't think like, oh, belly dance is sexy, I want to do sexy dance. I don't think about it like that. I think about, like, is this powerful form that men and women have been dancing for a long-ass time, and it's more like about community and culture and like breakdance and pop lock and like being strong and femininity that can be sexy, but it's also like fucking intense and dark, and like, you know, it's like.
Because you combine a lot of things into, right? Like you're incorporating lots of different styles in together into one thing.
But I think, I mean, representing the tribal fusion belly dance scene, I would say like the main word that most people would not use to describe our style is sexy, and we would use like empowered. I know it's actually interesting that you're in the room right now. I'm like, oh, I wonder what Ansa thought about. No, I'm sorry. I just called you Ansa. I wonder what Zia thought about that question. But it's understandable. Like it's an interesting thing, because I think being an outsider, you know, you look at it and you're like, well, it is sexy. But then like our answer to it is like, well, it's also like intense.
Yeah, like now I'm going to
empowering,
second guess if
dark.
I'm like not supposed to perceive it.
No, you can totally perceive it as sexy, but I don't. I'm not up there on stage being like, I feel so sexy.
I don't think I was saying that. Yeah, I don't perceive many belly dancers that way.
Yeah.
But it's that
it's just
like it is body dancing. It's not like.
But
you
you
know,
could say
look
the
at my
same-
feet. It's not like tap dance.
But you can
it's
say the
very
same thing about
body
pop
involved.
lock or break dance.
Totally,
exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In much the same way.
Yeah, and I think what part of it is
maybe that's the wrong word to use. Yeah, maybe it's
probably
physical is what I should
yeah,
say.
I mean, it's like saying to a pop locker, like, oh, what you do is sexy. You know, it's like.
I mean, I think it is kind of sexy though.
But that's just one of the things, you know. Like, it's just tough. I'm trying to think of like, it's like women inherently are sexy,
Right.
you know. And
That's
so
why,
like,
yeah,
I think
totally.
that as a performer, striving to be sexy is kind of stupid. Strive to
Sure.
be strong
Sure.
and powerful. You've
Sure.
got tits and an ass and a body. Like, you've got this, girl. Like, stop that. Like,
Sure.
dance. Fucking go out there and show people you can fucking dance. That's how I feel. So if you're asking me, like, I just want to show people that like dance is powerful and embodying and represents all aspects of femininity, not just being sexy. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to call
It's okay. I don't think you realize it was such a trigger word.
Clearly.
It's a
I didn't
really
at
intense
all.
trigger word. Yeah, because it's
clearly.
you know, we live in a patriarchal society where
Totally.
people are like, "Oh, you're a belly dancer." It's like, actually,
Like-
I'm a
Well,
lot of fucking things.
Can I interject the PBS view of it? So, you've watched salsa at like competitions on PBS before, right? And who's in the audience? Grandmothers. Right? Are they thinking that this is sexy, like, as in, like, they're going and getting turned on?
No.
They're thinking this is a competitive dance, and these people are strong, and they're admiring their muscles and their skill set, right?
Yeah.
This is how we look at it.
Yeah, it's more like that. It's more like, I think that a lot of the audience members are, there's like the odd person in the audience, I'm sure, that is like, that is sexy. But honestly, like, I look at my audience, and this maybe goes back to like the interaction I have, and like, dudes in the audience are like, yeah! They're not like, yeah, like, oh, that's hot. I'm gonna fuck my wife after I have this experience. They're like, dude, she can fucking dance. And this one guy, this fucking drunk guy, yelled at me off the stage, and it was the best compliment I've ever had. He was like, "Bitch, that looked hard." And I was like, "That is right." So my biggest compliment is when a man who potentially could be like objectifying me, instead of choosing to objectify me, is like, "She's a good dancer," and they see past that, and they just see a human being that's moving on stage and trying to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I get off on, is when like. It's about, yeah.
Well, I don't think I've ever perceived belly dancing as sort of like sexy in a way that's just sort of like on display. But it is it's so much body involved. It's like
Absolutely.
it's like singing
I
is
to- I
sexy.
totally
That's
agree
just
with
sort of a core of it. It's like this
It's
person's
just one of the
emotion coming
really
out.
powerful
I know
expressions
this now.
of it.
Yeah.
It's more. It's like a level of sensuality.
I'm never going to use this word again.
Yeah, don't use that word for belly dancers. You're good. Because it gets pegged in with like strippers,
Totally.
like this and that, and so it's like one of these like labels we've been fighting forever. And there's actually like things that I actually choose to not do with Beats Antique because I'm representing such a big community. So it's like I have this like secondary responsibility to like make sure that I'm extra covered up and that the performances I do like aren't risque in any way because I really want people to respect the forum, you know. And most
Right.
people do, like you do, and you guys do, and you're coming in like wanting to see our show and asking questions, and it's like so fucking awesome, you know. It's great.
I just when I see a belly dancer move as well, I constantly like I'm 6'3". I constantly am just jealous of how much healthier your spine must be than mine.
Ironically, my spine got a lot healthier when I took a break from belly dance and started doing aerial and trapeze.
because of the stretching of reverse being upside down and
Because
stuff?
there's a lot of compression that happens in your low back if you're not careful with belly dance. I would say it's just balance, really. Like, I was dancing way too much. I was dancing like 5 to 6 hours a day, mostly belly dancing and pop lock, and my back was all fucked up. But I just went and got super strong, and I did a bunch of like I can do like 10 pull-ups right now.
I have to imagine that hanging upside down from a piece of silk also stretches your spine out.
Oh yeah,
in good ways.
oh, absolutely.
Doing
Being
wire
inverted
stuff
is
like
like the best thing for you because it's the opposite.
Right.
You're like this.
You know that you can be up to an inch taller in the morning than in the evening just based on spinal compression through the day.
What? I'm not surprised.
Your height can change up
Not
to an
surprised.
inch through the day. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's why we always measure 8 in the morning.
No, but I actually really appreciate that question. I think you're an extremely thoughtful and like awesome person. Thank you for
Thank you.
letting me talk about stuff that was not directed at you at all.
Yeah, well, I have a tendency of asking questions that are provocative, even if I don't mean to, or even if I don't mean the sentiment.
No, I wasn't frustrated at all. I was just like, ooh, this is a good question, and I'm gonna like follow.
I just love the passion behind it.
Yeah, I
Like,
definitely got an answer.
Yeah, you did. You're like, we could work with that. But I feel like a mother lion or something, protecting its like little lion babies.
Well, it's your
Yeah.
it's your craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you're gonna protect it.
But it's also like my community and
It's like when people talk to me about like music production, and they're like, "You guys just like, push buttons and drag a bunch of stuff around, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's all we do."
Sure,
it's just
that's-
easier to answer this question. Just say, "Yeah, that's all we do."
honestly, like whenever I work on tracks, the amount of effort of time that goes into every single Ableton session is like, I feel like with dance, you almost have more to show for what you've done. In like the 36 to like
Nothing gets thrown
hundreds
away.
of hours. Yeah, just like I don't know.
Music
yeah.
production, a lot of stuff gets thrown away. Nothing gets thrown away in dance. You're still building your body the whole time, you know?
Yeah, production is like one of the most intense, hard. Just it's so much time. It's crazy how much time
Yeah.
it is.
It's a lot of listening to the same things over and over again.
Yeah,
and trying not to fall in love with bad ideas or hate good ideas.
Or like get away for a little while and not like freak out about it
Yeah.
and come back and not be burned out and know when to start a new session and know when to let something go. Yeah.
Do you choreograph all your own movements in advance? Like, are you dancing planned, choreographed dances, or is it
depends.
more
A
freeform?
lot of them I do. Like for instance, Three Sisters, I wrote all the drum parts to that.
Okay.
And I was pretty much in charge of that session because they came back from Russia with it, and I was like, give me this. Because I heard it in my head. I was like, no electronics in the beginning, it's gonna be raw drums. And I picked up a drum, and David started recording me, and I recorded the whole like drum part, and then we built around that, and it made it super organic, which is really what I wanted. And then David and Tommy brought in some really cool electronic stuff, which was rad. But going into what you're saying about choreography, I was building the choreography while I was writing the track.
Gotcha. So some of the pieces are intentionally choreographed,
Absolutely.
and then some are more freeform.
Absolutely. It's about half and half. And it really depends. I actually feel like the pieces I've invested more time in as a producer are the pieces I tend to choreograph. Because I hear them as choreographies when I'm making them. You know, because I actually placed certain elements of sound and like, you know, I put a rise in there, I'm gonna hear the rise the rest of my fucking life, so I'm gonna like fucking choreograph that rise because it's always gonna sound that way because I was there putting it into the session, you know. So
Interesting.
So the two-
do you commonly hear music and interpret it as physical movement in your brain? Like,
if
do you
it's
understand
a
it
really
as dance a lot
good
of times?
song, if it's a really good song, I'm like, I have to move to this. It's
But I'm
crazy.
saying, even if you don't move to it, is that sort of the motor that goes off in your brain a lot of time? Is
But it
movement in
doesn't
response to
translate as me
sound?
seeing movement. It translates to me like hitting something and being like, oh, it'd be really cool if I did like this thing, you know. So it's definitely in there.
Yeah.
But again, it has to be something that pops. Like I don't do to all music. Like I'll hear something and I'll be like, that's really interesting, and I'll like can't help but start moving to it.
I also got a chance to talk to David later that evening.
Let's do this.
I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, man.
First one is, when you were a kid growing up in Burlington,
Yeah.
were you like consciously aware of how cool Bernie was, or not until later?
Yeah, I have a cool story with Bernie. He's Yeah, I did. Like
do people in Burlington just
Yeah.
kind of all know?
Yeah, definitely. And I found out at an early age because we did a field trip to Montpelier, the state capital, and that's where he was working out of. And Bernie Sanders was our liaison. Like he took us on a tour. And when it came to talking about the Congress or the House of Representatives, Democrats, Republicans, and Independent, I remember being in like second or third grade, and he's like, and I'm independent, and I'm one of the only independent people. I don't believe in being a Democrat or Republican. And it was such a revelation as a little kid.
That you could be successful in politics without playing on her team.
Exactly, and he was just about carving his own path. And I remember that, like, really specifically. And then I went to his son's birthday at his house once, and my dad, his business owns a building, and he rents from him. So I have these, like, weird connections with Bernie Sanders. But he's a hero. He's a legend, and it's been so amazing to watch him do this thing the last 2 years and rep America.
Yeah, he kind of does rep America. It's interesting.
Yeah.
He kind of reps for the people,
Yeah. So that was huge to see him get that successful and get that close to the presidency.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm pulling up my notes here. So the other question is about Ableton. When you guys build your tracks, do you do a lot of jamming that you record and then cut down?
Yeah.
Or do you do a lot more sort of intentional building up from, like, do you start on a blank canvas and build up, or do you jam down into what you're going to finalize?
Yeah, we do both ways. So we've built tracks all different ways. So that's one way. We've had a very specific intention where the Tommy brings in a beat that was like really specific, and then we improvise on top of it, come up with a melody. Sometimes I'll come in with a melody, and then we'll build the beat under it. So it works in all sorts of ways. And yeah, I was just teaching a workshop. I'm teaching workshops right now in Atlanta, and I had people improvise, and then we cut up their improvisations, and we picked these little loops, and we showed people how to like find those little magic moments in their improvisations. So yeah,
That's cool. Do you have a sense of, I don't know how much time you have.
we do like another 5 minutes or something.
What would be, or what springs to mind as like one of your favorite instruments to use or sample? And you can include drums. Like, I know that you guys have played in like gamelan, and like you've had some extraordinary exposure to just the world's instruments.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, I'm a big fan of the oud, but like I don't
yeah.
know if you have like a sort of a secret weapon instrument that you just like you've loved the sound of.
For me, it's the banjo. I love the
Banjo,
percussive
interesting.
sound of the banjo and the resonance of it, and I've really liked bowing it. So that's sort of like a secret weapon of ours, is which I'm giving away right now. Is like bowing a banjo. Is a really cool sound that I like to experiment with, and bowing guitars and bowing different instruments that aren't normally bowed.
Yeah. What about for you?
I mean, I obviously love the sound of drums, I'm a
Sure.
drummer, predominantly. But as far as like other instruments go, I just like the texture of hand drums, and something that's played by somebody's fingers for some reason. It just, I don't know.
Gamelan is a fascinating art form to me.
Yeah.
Like I listened to some traditional gamelan and then realized that like it is exactly the tempo and structure of like 808 trap. Like you could put almost any bass line to it, and I was immediately like fell in love with this sort of orchestral percussive structure that it has.
And it's the same with like tabla, and the same with other hand drums and stuff like that. Where like, I actually studied it in music school. Like my teacher,
If you
my
need to
teacher
run, I understand.
exposed.
Yeah, you can take over.
Sure.
My teacher exposed me to like ideas of rhythms from another country, as opposed to just the ones that we're used to, standard rhythms that we would do in America or whatever, or Western music. And so like taking those ideas and putting them onto a drum set or putting them onto another instrument that it's not made for is like super fun for me, because it changes it up, and you can kind of combine things with other things, And like I feel the same way with the gamelan thing. It's like you can take rhythms from anywhere, and you can pretty much put an 808 under any of that stuff, and it sounds awesome.
Right.
And so to me, it's like whatever has texture. If there's got to be a balance, like between texture and like digital or even an analog sound, like a synth sound and a tone that's like generated from something, as opposed to something with texture that someone's playing. You know, it has that human element. There's the random, the sound, the random things that happen that are a little off. You know, it makes it move differently than a programmed beat. You know, so. But I'll like take sample sounds and then program the hell out of them, and then spend a lot of time like putting them off a little bit. You know,
swing,
pulling the it's swing a little bit, but like more just like human error. You know,
you intentionally use something to build that in.
Yeah, and then I kind of
that can be nice.
Yeah, and since I've been doing that, it's changed the way I actually play drums.
You sort of more lean back on it.
It's a little. I can push it whichever way it needs to be. You know,
catch up with yourself.
Yeah, it just kind of flows easier.
That to me is always the beauty of jazz, was the ability, the trust that musicians could have in each other to depart and then come back.
Yeah.
And that wandering is really beautiful.
Yeah.
That takes,
and that's
I think,
what I
time to
studied
build.
a lot of. You know, it's like in the school I went to, it's just like, you know, you kind of had to get good at everything, and jazz was a tough thing because it's a lot of it is understanding it and understanding the idea behind it, and so it kind of
like the philosophy of jazz.
Not only the philosophy, but like how to actually do it, like and how to listen to other players, because it's really not about you; it's about other players. And then as a drummer, you know, you in any band, a drummer takes all the things that are there and sort of like puts them into one box and presents that, you know? And so it kind of holds all those rhythms together. So in program music or in hip-hop or whatever, sample-based music, it's still the same thing. It's like you can have this weird off sample that has a really great vibe, and then you can lock it into something really strict. Or you can take the opposite and take a really strict sample and pull it out with like a really sloppy beat. But it makes you move a little different, turn your head a little bit, and make a weird squinting face. And you're just like, it's good. If I'm using an acoustic sound, it's because I want that texture. Otherwise, I'll use a program sound or one shot that I know that's like, this is perfect for what I'm doing.
Right.
And then like I'll take another one shot and offset it just like a little bit from there, so it has like a flamming effect. Or I'll just do that live and play it.
Right.
You know. But the idea behind Beats Antique is sort of like we take, you know, for example, one of the first examples that I kind of will use is upright bass, right? So upright bass, when you mic an upright bass, it's actually really hard to mic and make sound really good as a full instrument, and then expect to put that on a sound system and have the bass, because the bass is very boomy and it's very it's hard to control, and it's variable. It has so many variables to it: the resonance of the room, the microphone, all this stuff. So what we did was we recorded our friend playing bass, and then we took an EQ and cut off all the super low end and just kept the string to the high end part of it, and then doubled that part on 808s. So it's like
as MIDI, like he piped it to MIDI,
just
and
playing a second bass
played
line
along with it.
of 808s.
Gotcha.
That's playing exactly the same thing that the bass is playing.
Gotcha.
But it's controlled as low end, because low end that's controlled is the best low end you can have. It's like the cleanest, nicest. Like you don't want to mess with the low end. The high part of the low end, you want to mess with that. So it's like a saw wave or something has this zzz on top of it. Well, it's the same thing with the upright bass. That zzz, that white noise, that higher frequency stuff is attached to that bass sound. But by taking out the bass of the instrument and putting in a tonal bass, it makes that upright bass sound like your ear recognizes as upright bass.
Because it has the timbre of all the top end,
But the low end is just so big and solid that it kind of messes with your brain.
Totally. My friend Chris, who I think was in the Ableton session earlier, he taught me a sort of a good rule of thumb. You said, sometimes you can hear more of a sound when you take a lot of it away,
Oh yeah.
and that kind
You
of stuck
just get
with me.
you get to the
You get to the heart of
yeah.
whatever
Well,
the
you
sound
just
is you're
get to
looking
the reason why you like it.
for. Right. My last question is for you, but maybe you can sort of answer for all three of
Yeah.
you while you're here. What was the point in your lives that, or for you personally, that you sort of turned on and understood the importance of sustainability? Because I know that this is a big issue for you guys and it has been for a long time. And I don't consider you guys like environmental spokespeople, but it always sort of like creeps into like
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're doing a tour, but like it's a tour where everything's recycled paper,
Right.
But you guys clearly it's an emphasis in your lives.
Yeah.
And I wondered sort of when that turned on for you.
At a really young age, once I realized that that all this stuff that we have is going somewhere and it doesn't just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Once I learned that, like my dad took me to the dump to get rid of a bunch of crap from our house or whatever, and I remember going there and being like, at first I thought it was really cool. I was like, oh my god, this place is amazing. But then I realized, like, wait, all this stuff has been here for so long. Like, I wonder how much stuff we've put in here. I wonder what that means. And that was I was really young when that happened. And I feel like as I've gotten older and sort of understood the ramifications that are happening around the world, I think that there's a lot of people that still don't understand that concept.
I agree.
And so I
Totally.
like to share that,
Yeah.
And I think as a band, we have a voice, and anybody that's touring and anybody that's playing in front of people, you have a voice and you should use it. And we like to highlight things like equality and compassion and sustainability and taking care of like the earth, each other, yourself.
I think a reason why a lot of people don't see that is that many people are so underprivileged with travel.
Yeah.
I think that's a big factor, is that they don't physically leave the world that they see,
Yeah.
and so the world is just that big. It's that
Well,
radius.
and then when you go to a place that has like a really difficult trash situation.
Right. Oh, international travel, especially. I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah. And when you go to a place that they don't have the same resources as you really see the effect on the environment. You smell it. It's all around. You can't. It's really hard to find a place to just be without trash.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because a little bit more effort could mean like a much more beautiful place that's more sustainable, and also when it comes to actual sustainability, not just trash, it's like, why can't we use this again? Why are we so scared of something that's been touched by another person? And it's because we're scared of disease and we're scared of things. But I think also we are privileged. We don't have to.
Well, we intentionally design against sustainability.
Right.
And we intentionally make policy against sustainability.
Yeah.
Like we don't, do the obvious thing like creating tax incentives for recycling.
Yeah.
Like we just don't do that.
Yeah, if you paid people once they actually recycled it, as opposed to like you get like a thing or whatever, like when you buy it, I'm like,
Right.
so I got 5 cent redeemable whatever. So it's such a weird thing. I don't think the system really makes any sense on it, because I don't think they understand it or care to.
Well, I don't want to take all your time. Is there anything you want to plug other than the fact that you're obviously on the Shadowbox tour? The Shadowbox LP is out. It's available on your Bandcamp's $10.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything else you want to?
Yeah,
kind of
man.
plug?
Spread the love. Like
Spread the
there's
love.
it's so necessary right now to have each other's back, no matter what's going on. It's like I don't care if you buy my album, if you go and you're like nice to your neighbor, that's fine. Do that. Don't waste your money on music. Like waste your time. Like make your time wonderful by being a good person. And then once you're a good person, then seek out music that suits you.